Director of Kimetec. Thank you, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. The topic is the value chain of biofuels. We have 1 hour to discuss, share information, and ask and answer questions with experts and specialists both in biofuels and sustainability. We have had other meetings on sustainability. We have frequently talked about the agricultural and food value chain. Now we will talk about the biofuel value chain. We will include topics such as deforestation, the carbon footprint, and the new regulations of the European Union that will be in effect as from 2025, so that we have the right information and we can have an idea of the opportunities that await us. We will start the panel with Gustavo so that we will have an idea of the situation today in biofuels. Then we will have Bruno speaking. He comes directly from France, so thank you for joining us. And he will share the certification scheme that they have for biofuels. We will also deal with the regulations, some technical notions to be up to date, and then we will start working to see how we can implement improvements and join the value chain. With Inés from Plataforma PUMA, the PUMA platform, we will talk about some broad-ranging issues, and finally we will talk about certifications in this new value chain. I will ask some general questions because I don't want to interject too much. There is a lot of new information, and I'm sure there will be questions at the end. Gustavo, I will start with you, and this is what I asked you when we were preparing this panel. I believe this is useful for all of us. Could you please share a framework for the rest of us about the Argentine situation in terms of biofuels, how much we produce, how much we consume, and how much we export, and also the evolution over the past years. So let us start dealing with biofuels, and then we will address sustainability. In this case, we will address the carbon footprint, the deforestation. At least for the voluntary standards, deforestation was not included in food value chains, but now there are regulations in different markets, and if we want to join those markets, we need to understand those regulations and to see how we can use them to our advantage. So could you please give us an overview of the regulations and also give us your opinion? Do you see this as an opportunity or as a threat for Argentina? Thank you very much. There are several questions. I will try to summarize in a few minutes to give you an overview of the current situation. And I hope I can give you some background on biofuels. Argentina was one of the first countries around the world to have a law for the promotion of biofuels. The first condition is that it should be created by law. Otherwise, no oil company in the world will be interested. Why? Because of the value chain particularities. It is quite strange, and there are many reasons. In 2006, a law was enacted, as well as in the US, Peru, Australia, and we started working on biofuels in the domestic market. These are mandatory. The ones that were brought with maize and soybean. We have an industry of 25 plants. Of those, 33 engage in soybean biodiesel, and the rest bioethanol from sugarcane in the north of Argentina, and there is a monthly cutoff, which is the amount of biofuel that has to be delivered. The law in Argentina is the worst in the world right now because it regulates everything: who should produce, how much they should produce, who they should sell to, and the conditions for buying and selling. This has no precedents around the world. The conclusion is there have been no new investments in Argentina, and the true client is the state, and the state cannot provide guarantees right now. So we started very well in 2006 with an enormous capacity to become world leaders, and now in 2024 we have stagnated. But let us not lose hope. We have possibilities for growth because in 2012 we were the world's first exporter in bio soybeans. We have a great potential. A large percentage of the trucks with biofuels had soybean from Rosario. But Trump came and said biodiesel is for Americans, and we were not admitted anymore. We also were as a party in a trial, and we lost it, and we only achieved one part. We can have 200,000 tons per year. Those 55 plants, many of them cannot sell to the domestic market if they have the bad idea of exporting. And you might think it is absurd because if a company wants to export, so much the better. Now, the law has this prohibition to sell to the domestic market if you're exporting. And Bruno is going to share with us the future, what the future looks like. Shall I start again? The future is that what we know today in biodiesel, the first generation of soybean, bioethanol based on sugarcane, there is a new revolution. The biofuels will have to meet many sustainability conditions. Some of them will have to come from other kinds of crops. And Argentina has all the conditions to win. Argentina has all it takes. But Laura was mentioning an opportunity. The planes we take in our airports, you will provide the biofuel of the future. Now, the planes in the domestic market will not be able to take off or to land if they don't have biofuels. So a huge revolution is in the making, but not under the current conditions. We need to demonstrate new conditions. Who are leading the new conditions? Once again, without criticizing Bruno, Europe is responsible. We are going to learn what they are asking us to do in order to adapt. You will see a debate in Congress very soon. There are people who want to change the law because they have got to the conclusion that it is absurd to have a law that prohibits doing things. The law should promote and foster the activity. I believe there is a draft law or a bill, and that a big debate will be happening. And in the next Aapresid congresses, we will probably start talking about soybean and rapeseed and many other crops used for biofuels. So today we have an enormous opportunity in Argentina. If we are able to change our regulatory framework, we will be able to demonstrate we can compete. If we don't do it, we are headed for catastrophe. Now we will take a look at the situation in the European Union. Bruno will try to answer in Spanish, but perhaps he will shift to English. He will switch to English, so you can use simultaneous interpretation. I'm going to read the questions so I don't make any changes to the questions he expected. Bruno, thank you for being with us today. Thank you. I had to study a lot because many of us didn't know what B2BS is. It is the company you represent. Could you please explain what this association is about, what goals it has, and in what countries it operates. Yes. The other question is, once we know 2BS, could you please talk about the European regulations that Gustavo mentioned, the concept of renewable energies directives? I have been reading, but I need him to explain this to me, and then how they apply to the Argentine biomass and biofuel production. And we would like to know what the certification system is like, the one that you propose for biofuels, and the role that the PUMA Platform and Control Union play, as well as what cost or incentive this has for our country. Hello, everyone. I am pleased to be here in Argentina, a country that is the heart of 2BS. I don't speak Spanish very well, but I will answer the first question in Spanish, and then I may switch to English. In the first place, 2BS means biomass, biofuels, and sustainability. It is a non-profit organization created by farmer unions in 2010. It was established to meet the requirements of the European Directive on Renewable Energies. Our mission is to support cooperatives, producers, and traders of agricultural biomass and biofuels, to support them in their sustainability certification. The certification is an obligation to be able to sell sustainable products in the European market. It is also a key to enter the European market. And our work at 2BS is to translate the law into auditable specifications that can be used in the field during during the audits of Control Union. And our interpretation of the law is validated by the European Commission, and we are officially recognized by the European Commission. When we interpret the law, we find simple solutions to avoid excessive criteria. Our objective is to facilitate, to make life easier for farmers and cooperatives. Our recognition is valid throughout the world. We have certified producers throughout the world, and particularly in Europe and LATAM. Argentina is our second country, our second most important country after France. Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay are major countries for our development strategy.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por tu esfuerzo.
Thank you for your effort. Please use the headphones because he will be speaking in English.
So, about the European directive, first of all, it's a directive that was created in 2008, as Gustavo explained, and there are different objectives that the European Commission has done in order to to create the framework for producing biodiesels of bioethanol and different bioenergies in Europe. And Europe tries to develop a market in order to substitute the fossil energies. And so they try to create a market that is more sustainable. That means that we don't want to have biofuels that are produced whilst destroying the environment. So this is why the European Commission has listed a number of land that is quoted as non-sustainable. For example, Europe does not want to promote deforestation, do not want to destroy natural preserved area, and this is globally what Europe does not want. And honestly, as a citizen, I believe it's something that we can respect, that we don't want that biofuels be produced because we would be cutting our nature and replacing it with, with crops that, in order to help us, moving our cars. This is not what we want for our children. Also, what Europe does not want is that crops that are meant for feeding humans and feeding animals would be used for energy crops. So there are different protections that are put into the legislation in order to avoid misuse of crops for producing bioenergy. This is the principle that is behind that legislation. And I need to go back to the question, maybe. This is also, Europe has created a system where they said, okay, every member of a supply chain should be certified, and this is why it's mandatory, because every member of a chain has its responsibility. Responsibility to focus on crops that are sustainable, listing only sustainable land, and also focusing on a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Because, again, that's another principle behind the European legislation, is that Europe wants that a biofuel would be 60% less emitting greenhouse gas emissions with a reference to the fossil fuels. This is globally the picture. And this is what is the certification that 2BS is implementing. But, it's not only 2BS, there are other certification schemes that, it's a free market. We are also in a free world. And, so people can have a choice. And this is important that you know that you have a choice. Now, I want to say about this legislation because it's my second time here in Argentina, and I might start understanding the feeling from Argentinians, from people from Latin America, saying this is a legislation that has been created against Argentina or against Brazil. No, it's a legislation that has been created for entering the European market, and it applies everywhere. When I go back to Paris, we in France, we are people that are complaining. I always say that we are sad Latin people. We always complain and so on. So the cooperatives, the French cooperatives, they complain a lot. And they say, well, this is a problem, this certification, it's heavy, it's heavy. They do not see the opportunity. Because when you are certified, you enter a new market, so you have an opportunity. And when I come here to Argentina, I meet a lot of people that understand the possibility, the opportunity that is offered. So I'm even saying that you are better than French people. You see, it's globally, that's a thing. So, what should I say more about this? About greenhouse gas emissions, and this makes the link to PUMA. greenhouse gas emissions, it's a difficult concept because I believe that cooperatives and farmers do not want to be bothered with too many calculations. And in the legislation, you have different ways of estimating the greenhouse gas emissions. You have default values. So this is easy. You go to in a table in the law, you read the default values, and you have a default values for your product. It's an easy job. It takes you about 1 minute, and then you can, enjoy doing something else. You have NUTS 2 values, which are regional default values, and this is important to you because there are only a limited number of countries that have NUTS 2 values and that are better than the default values. There are 3 countries. It's Argentina, Australia, and Canada. When I told you that Europe has a legislation that applies everywhere, I will give you very clear information. Before, in 2023, European countries had NUTS 2 values. Everybody had NUTS 2 values, but the Commission said, oh, you European countries, you have to redo your submission according to our new rules, according to RED 2. And imagine that the best situation that are NUTS 2 values are no longer available for European countries. So again, in Argentina, you have a better situation than we at home. Yeah, you were speaking about stupid legislation. Sometimes, it's good to look what the neighbor is doing. Okay, and so I told you about default values, I told you about NUTS 2 values, and now I'm going to speak about another possibility. Another possibility is to go for what we call in English actual values. In French, I would say valeur réelle, so real values, where you have to make the calculation of every step into the production of a crop. This is a much larger job, and this is where companies like PUMA here in Argentina helps you understanding the complexity of a calculation. And this is why we have in Argentina, we have recognized PUMA for helping the market. So, because 2BS is not going to provide a unique solution, it's a free market. People can do the calculation themselves, but if they want to do something better with their life, they can use companies that will help them. This is globally our message. The last question was, can you again tell me how it is organized with Control Union? No? Yeah, okay. Control Union are a historical partner of 2BS in Argentina since so many years. And the relationship is very easy. We, 2BS, have not the right to conduct audits ourselves. We are owner of a program of specifications, and then we recognize companies, certification bodies like Control Union that can conduct the audits. And this is, we have training sessions to train the auditors of Control Union. Control Union has a very good expertise. They have huge requirements for the audits. And it's a system where, and this is also what you want, there couldn't be no bias because we are owner of a program, the audits are made by Control Union, and so there is no, we keep the things, how do you say this, we avoid conflict of interest. That was. So you spoke about the cost. The cost for certification, you have to pay an annual fee for 2BS. The price of 2BS, it's on our website, it's official, everybody pays the same price. There is, everybody's on an equal foot for us. Then you have to pay the audit to the auditing company control union. But you know, again, I said it's a free market, so that's it's up to Diego to explain this. But I want to say that the biggest cost is the cost of quality and the cost of the certification. I mean, the biggest cost is that you have, when you are a cooperative that want to enter the market, you have to organize the collection of the data, the information to the farmers. You have to organize the whole system. And this is the real cost of certification. It's not the cost of 2BS. As I told you, we are a non-profit organization. I'm not running a charity. This is every time I make that joke, it's not running a charity. So we have to pay. I have employees, I have to pay my employees, you know, but my objective is not to make money. It's the objective of Diego to make money. Yeah. But it's just a bad joke for you, you know. But, you know, the main cost is when you have to have at home someone that takes care of your quality. But when you think about quality, every time the question is how much it costs. Now, the real question that you have to ask you is how much does it cost to do non-quality? That's the real question. When, if you do non-quality and the audit fails, then you are out of the market for at least 2 years. So you cannot sell your products on the market for 2 years. This is the real cost of non-quality. I'm terminated. Thank you so much.
No mic, sorry. I don't know how you're experiencing this, but I feel what happens with regulations is we feel contradictory about it. We can see that it's more work for the things that we're already doing. The producers feel that they are even more complicated. I feel like the kids who are not allowed to take my cell phone, and they say this is better for you in the future, and the kids don't understand that. And I believe that for us socially and psychologically in our sector, we try to do the best we can, and it seems like we can never get to the best. There's always a new rule or a new regulation that comes in, and there's a new standard and we have to adapt. But I believe that everybody can see what they are saying, which is you can see it as a threat or as an opportunity. Now we will delve deeper with Maria Inés, especially with regards to Argentina's advantages in comparison to other countries. He was talking from the Producers Association in France, and they have a presence in Paraguay and Uruguay. So we have a competitive situation, and we may feel we are being punished, or how can we become a part of this new process? And now, Inés, let's speak of the practical. Let's see how we see this as an opportunity. People from the EU are working already in Argentina and seeing Argentina through different ties. So I wanted to ask you 3 questions. The first one is, can you explain more in depth the role of Plataforma PUMA with 2BS when it comes to whatever you think is important and hasn't been mentioned? Because you spend your time with producers and you may know what is interesting with regards to EU regulations that will come into force in 2025, and how do you collaborate in adding value in this new chain? And then, whether you're still working with producers, or is there a new role that you may have with those who produce and export biofuels, because Perhaps the producer has nothing to do with the person who's exporting biofuels. So how can we integrate? And how can Plataforma PUMA collaborate? Does it? Other things that you may want to share with us with regards to the PUMA platform? Bruno has said if you go into the website, you can see it all. You can have more information. And finally, we'd like to know, according to your experience in Latin America, do you think Argentina is in a beneficial position with regards to other countries when it comes to these regulations, such as biodiesel in Paraguay, Chile, or Brazil? I hope I can remember everything. Let's go for the first part, which has to do with our role. I want to thank Bruno and Caroline, who quickly said yes to our invitation of coming to Argentina for this Congress. This was a great opportunity for us to be together to tell producers and companies about this agreement that we have signed with 2BS, which is a seal of excellence that allows us to certify the carbon footprint for biofuels in Argentina. We've always said from the PUMA perspective that we want to be enablers in the process in order to add value, so at the end of the day, at the end of the cultivation period, we may find better profitability, we may find also learning points from the process, and thus transforming the complexity of the calculations into something that is simple, scalable, repeatable, and transparent for those who afterwards need to come and validate and verify, and so that it is a more organized, simpler process. And we have to think that all of these highly complex processes on an Excel, the technology can be a bridge to enable them or facilitate them. So we are just enablers of these scalability processes. We are proud about the fact that 2BS has given us this seal, but it is the chance to learn as well. A while ago, Bruno was speaking about the default values. Nonetheless, we have great opportunities if we measure, if we calculate what is happening in the management of our crops. We've learned a lot where we launched these platforms, and we have a lot to tell. Fran Garcia Marcilla is here from Viterra. We had a big project with him last year, and this year we continued to do this project on a larger surface. And with Fran, we always spoke about our own position. And there's no way to know your position and what we need to improve unless we measure. And that's where we learned, and I'm not going to go into the market area because Gustavo is the expert here. I can speak about the opportunities when it comes to managing crops. And clearly, we have great opportunities with regards to the use of fertilizers, to use the appropriate dosage, and to lower nitrous oxide emissions and things to do with different emissions. If we measure, we have a great opportunity of being able to improve what we're doing, our processes. And linked to this, the commercial opportunity. Our platform, by being recognized by 2BS, this is an opportunity for producers who are starting to produce grain thinking of biofuels, because as Gustavo was saying today, there seems to be 2 or 3 grains that will go to biofuels, and then we're speaking about carinata, about rapeseed, and other things, and there's other grains coming up, and there is a learning curve for the management. There is a learning curve with regards to emissions. This morning, Sebas Galbucera, who is our project leader, explained clearly in an agreement that we have with Aapresid what is the footprint and the crops that have been measured, and it would seem that we still need to learn a lot. So technology is the bridge to generate learning, to reduce gaps, and to be able to add transparency to our work and to open the door to those who are coming after us, who will then validate and verify so that those who will buy that grain are clear about the origin and the specific site. I don't know whether there was something else. You called me Maria Inés, and my mother used to call me that. Yeah, same here. My mom used to say Maria Laura when I misbehaved as well. I don't know why I called you Maria Inés, but you didn't answer about the other countries, because I am very interested in seeing you're very focused. But no. I believe we are here at Aapresid. They have set Argentina forward with regards to sustainability. We've been working on this a lot for the past few years without even being asked to be sustainable. So we began to compete with biofuels. We looked for similar geographies, and suddenly we've got Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, which are close to us, and they will go down the same road. And we're speaking about carbon footprint, but we're also speaking about deforestation. We come from the Pampas, and unless we haven't had any deforestation issues there. So I wanted to know, you've been traveling, you've been with them abroad. How do they see Argentina with regards to other countries? I believe Argentina has an important difference in the region with regards to management, no doubt. We have a better qualification because we've been doing things very well for so many years. We have a bad position to apply to certain regulations because when it comes to management to lower footprint, we have a fundamental difference with regards to the region. We don't have to go too far with Paraguay. Clearly, there is a difference. We do have customers in Paraguay we're working, and we can see there is an abysmal difference with regards to what is being done in Argentina. So when it comes to handling and management, there is a very big gap, and that brings the positioning of Argentina forward. When it comes to deforestation, it's pretty much the same. The Pampas has never had, we don't have to speak about that because it's never been forested. So we cannot say that we need that, but we need to show that because that's what we do, to show that in documentation because that's what they ask for. So that's where I believe we shouldn't get mad, but we should give the certifications that show how powerful we are in that respect. If we're going to compare with Brazil, when it comes to free deforestation, there is a difference as well as in management, but I believe we have a gap for improvement. We cannot believe that we do things great and that there is no possibility for improvement or to change the management or to think about practices that have to do with fertilization that must come together with the sampling of soils. It seems like everybody's doing that, but not everybody's doing that. In 90% of producers, it's not done, maybe in 30%. So there is a potential for improvement, and that potential has to do with a footprint that distinguishes us from other countries in the region.
Bueno, gracias, Inés.
Thank you, Inés. Diego, we will close this section with you, and then we will go back to Gustavo to see how we can make difficult things simple. Because so far we have been sharing lots of information, but things are organized and we can make them simple. Could you please present? We have a new audience, and even though I know this certification, I would like you to explain what control union is. It measures the footprint, but certification is needed. So both elements go hand in hand, carbon footprint and deforestation. What is the process? If there is anyone who is interested, can you go to the website and see the information? I would like to know, as a producer, in terms of sustainability and carbon footprint, if you have one certification for carbon footprint, does it apply for deforestation? What differences are there between the two? Please help me concentrate. Hello, everyone. I'm going to go back to some of Bruno's comments to understand the role of control union or the players in this chain. On the one hand, we have regulation. As Gustavo and Bruno have explained, we also have producers, which are one of the most important links. As Bruno said, to be 2SB, and there are some other entities that interpret the regulations and translate them to our languages, so to speak. So they help us understand how and what for. Then there are entities like ours. On behalf of the standard, we are responsible for validating the process that occurs in the chain. If any of the roles tries to do something that is out of scope, then we have a problem. We take the regulation, interpret it by the standard, and we have to validate that things are being done properly, how things are produced, what the industry is like, and we have to talk with people and understand the processes. In that role, in that ecosystem, we have a very important task and a very strong responsibility with impartiality, which is very complex. We understand this role, and it is very hard to play. This is a summary of the role, and that is our function. As a company, this is the company has a background of 100 years. So this is part of this history or the track record of the company. We have an extensive track record. We are not going to give more details in this respect, but it is very important to give some explanations because sometimes we are not clear about the roles, who does what. You can do things well, but you need to demonstrate how we are doing those things. And we have the role of auditing or controlling. There is another question about costs, because you mentioned this in passing. Could you please tell us about costs? As regards costs, if you consider the benefits, the costs are zero. It's a very simple answer. Yes, there is a lot of discussion about costs. For the producer, it should always be zero. For the rest of the chain, well, they have to absorb some costs and capitalize the opportunity, and the costs are cascaded down the different links of the chain. There is a fee for enrollment and for the audit, but we need to think about the opportunities. Gustavo also mentioned it. We can have complex legislation, And Gustavo will also talk about a sensitive issue, new regulations. New regulations can work as a new barrier or as an opportunity. If we make comparisons with our neighbors, well, there are many opportunities in the face of challenges. So it is worth mentioning this. And also, there's another issue. Do I have to demonstrate that I have not deforested? Do I have to demonstrate it continuously? If I have demonstrated once, do I have to re-demonstrate it? There is a large number of certifications, so it's good to talk about it. And we are entering a new stage to understand how we can become effective and efficient, and how producers using new tools can start working based on information and criteria that are applicable to many markets. If a producer is calculating the footprint, which is much easier today than 5 years ago, if they have tools, there are many standards that have to do with the carbon footprint. If you calculate it once with a very good tool, if you make it simple and it is verifiable, then it will be useful for many other standards. Maybe you need to add a comma or some other small modification. So look at it from this perspective. Some standards have different rules. Some of them are more demanding, others are less demanding. We need to meet the minimum requirements. There is no need to overdo your efforts, to exceed the requirements. If you are demonstrating deforestation, if you demonstrate it once, it can also be useful for other systems. However, when you talk about deforestation, you have cut-off dates like 2011, 2020, and these are all restrictions in terms of demonstrating deforestation. You can go to the most demanding one and take that as a basis, and you will meet or you will comply with all of them. We are not We are not involved in serial deforestation. I believe the carbon footprint is even easier because it's a calculation. You can discuss the methodology, how verifiable it is, and here, to conclude, it looked like an uncertain world or an unknown world until very recently, but now we are starting to understand, and the calculations should be easy, and we should have better tools, and this is starting to happen. We are having a new and interesting ecosystem. We have to think about the value that we can reach if we calculate the carbon footprint. Once you calculate it, you can sell. Not everyone is in equal conditions. Thank you, Diego. We have been preparing this panel for 2 weeks. Yesterday night, he sent me a message. I didn't understand the questions, but I always ask the same questions. I have many questions, but we have little time, and I would like Gustavo to provide some concluding remarks. Gustavo, could you please present what VSEC is, what its role is, and how it plays an integrating role? And you will be the last one to present. Let me explain in 3 minutes something that has been taking a lot of time. This is not a short-term project. Short-term is January 1st, 2025. so that on that date, nobody has problems to sell 1 kilo of soybean in Argentina for export, you will have to do something that is quite simple. You will have to register in a system that includes the entire value chain. There are 4 entities of producers, warehouses, cooperatives, and exporters. It is voluntary. It is free. The producer has to send the information on the RESPAC form, which is something you do online with Senasa. Then the polygon should be the actual one. It should be accurate. If you put it in the wrong location, you may be left out. It has no cost, so there are no fees involved. Don't accept anyone who would like to collect money from you. It's a great announcement to know that this is free. And on January 1st, we will be in a position as the value chain of soybean and also of beef and leather. Next week, we will have a meeting with leather exporters because they are facing a similar problem. And we will be able to comply with all the requirements on January 1st, 2025. We don't know if Europe will change the dates, but so far, this is a deadline we have. Now, we are talking about regulations here, as Bruno was saying. The regulation of deforestation-free certification for chocolate, coffee, wood, cocoa, and soybean. We can also sell oil and other byproducts. We already do 2BS. Since 2008, this has allowed us to sell to Europe, and we are the main supplier of biodiesel in the European Union. Why do we need this, the 4 of us together, so that we can all capture value over the next years when we work in carbon footprint issues? We need them because the buyers, when they buy biodiesel of second generation, we will have to comply with these requirements. So we need to have Bruno close to us to understand the standards of buyers. They will also ask us to have a real calculator with good calculations, and we need INE. And we will also have to hire control union to certify that everything we have done is true. And VSEC, as the information management platform, has the following role. The seller will not have to load the same information 60 times with 60 different buyers. The attribute today is deforestation. Tomorrow we might have carbon, and the day after tomorrow we may have some socio-environmental issues such as human rights, indigenous communities, labor rights. So VSEC is a management platform which is free, and it is adapted to the value chain. And we will continue working together so that, to what end? So that control union will gain value or make money. Thank you, Gustavo. Is there anything you would like to add?
This is a very good initiative that has been taken, and we have been looking at VSEC from a distance because Paris is far away from Buenos Aires. But I want to say that one of the things that we are trying to do at 2BS is to avoid duplication of efforts. Our members are farmers. They don't want to be repeating information everywhere and so on. So my founding members, my board of directors has asked me to make sure that, whenever we can, we must recognize good initiatives. We must, this is why we try to make partnerships and to avoid duplication of data. duplication and duplication. So my message to BISEC is, 2BS will be there to help the Argentinian cooperatives to do the job. When we do something that we recognize each other, this is our commitment. Now we have to go into the details, obviously, And I wanted to say that, we are at a distance, and it's true that in our plan, and because I said that, we love Argentina, it's also that, we want to be closer to Argentina, and we have the idea, and I hope it will soon be a reality. We want also to have an office here in Buenos Aires, and that, next year, that, all the questions that arise here in Argentina, that, we have people from 2BS that will be here for listening and for helping also BISEC in trying to find the good solutions. This is what we want to do, So I don't know if we will have a big opening of the office, of 2BS, so maybe I will need to call, the organizing committee of the Olympic Games in Paris to make a big ceremony, But I don't know if, if the taste that we have for big ceremonies will be the same as here, Yeah, o todo a París, no, todos a Buenos Aires, okay. Okay, thank you.
Bueno, si alguno tiene una pregunta, nos avisa, les acercamos el micrófono.
If there are any questions, please let us know so that you will receive the mic. Perhaps it was all too clear, or perhaps you didn't understand a word. Should